The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Father, or should I call you Steve? Since it's a new year, maybe we should start cooking fresh with fewer smoke alarms this time. Your cooking's improving, but I can see the stress in your eyes. Anna's mom used this Blue Apron assemble and bake thing during our playdate. Pre-chopped ingredients, over 40 grams of protein, and just one pan to clean up. She just tossed it in the oven and boom, plating like she's got followers. So go to blueapron.com, Steve. Make 2026 the year you win dinner. Blue Apron. Get 50% off your first 2 orders plus free shipping with code LISTEN50. Terms and conditions apply. Visit blueapron.com/terms for more.
All right, here for the post-Wembley pod with Wayne, who was at the game. How are you doing, sir? Just back from a long road trip north.
Yeah, not bad, actually. I'm not despondent about the defeat. I mean, obviously, Community Shield, as it's now legally known, since they were forced to rechange it. I wasn't sure about the origins of that, because I must admit I lazily overlooked it when it happened. But Colin Miller, who was a journalist who I'm sure you know, he was posting about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I do remember that now. And I'm not that bothered about it. It would have been great if we'd have won. It would have been a definite marker of how the season was to go if we did win, and now we lost on penalties. It's definitely not a marker of how the season went, but there was definitely some good things in there. I'm feeling quite positive about it, but maybe also my mood is a little bit enhanced by the fact that, cause I've got 3 nephews. Freddie I've talked about before, who's like a massive United nut, and he's been to a few games now. Well, Noah, it was his first game yesterday, and it was a bit much for him, but afterwards he was full of it. Like, so after we got back home and it sunk in a little bit, he was like full of beans about it. He was like saying it was amazing and everything like that. So then his favourite player is Garnacho, and he saw Garnacho score. So that's the real win. So
I've struggled to get my boys interested in football. I need that experience, don't you? The kind of magical experience of walking up the steps to see the pitch for the first time, the buzz of the crowd, and all of that kind of electricity. And it's obviously like I'm not going to take them to MLS because that's child abuse, frankly. I have been trying to get them to watch the Olympics. I thought even the kind of fun sports would get them, skateboarding, BMX, breakdancing. I did see posted on Twitter a YouGov poll about the number of people who thought they'd be able to compete in the Olympics with a bit of training. And 2% of 65-year-olds reckon they could run the 100 meters.
Oh my God. That's optimism for you.
I know. I did think I was watching the breakdancing eliminations and semi-finals, finals yesterday. And at one point there's this Dutch guy who rips off his hat, chucks it down. He's very bald like you, and then he spins on his head. Top stuff. And I thought, with a bit of training, Wayne could do that. No problem.
Oh yeah, I could put the break into breakdancing, that's for sure. The way that my body's falling apart. No, do you know what? It's funny, like watching the Olympics and realizing, I mean, I was a good runner, like in my teen years, because the running went in, seemed to run, pardon the pun, run in our family. And there was a period where I was the fastest kid in school, and I was thinking, oh yeah, you know what? I could do something with this. And then discovered girls and beer, like you do. Anyway, the point is, I'm definitely not of the percent that would be vain or stupid enough to say that I could compete in an Olympic sport. But when I do watch the Olympics, it's always something that, like you can watch any sport and you don't often, I don't think the default setting is that you have admiration, right? You just watch it and you're entertained. You don't think, I admire. I mean, the difference for me was watching Andy Murray when he first won Wimbledon and thinking he's achieved something historic, considering how much we talked about Tim Henman growing up and everything like that he'd actually achieved something that was the first thing in such a long time that he would be remembered in such a way. And I remember that was the first time that, apart from watching football, was the first time outside of football I thought there is something of a landmark there that you can do. And the Olympics, though, always gets me every time I look at it, because I always think, like, people train, you know, everyone knows someone who's been in an Olympic team, even if it was just like they were competing to try and get in Team GB or something like that. Everybody knows someone with a connection to it. We've got, in our family, we've got a young lad, one of my cousin's sons is a boxer, and he's really highly rated. And he was, I don't know if it's for this Olympics or if he's training for the next one, but I know the effort that goes into it. And so I see it, and it is inspiring because you hear the stories of what they've come through and everything like that. So I don't fail to be inspired by that. And that's the one thing I think I could never, I know my lane. I'll say my lane, you know, but I look at it, I feel like on a human level inspired by it. So yeah, it's great to watch.
I'm all up for competitive podcasting at the next Olympics. Yeah. Got to be competitive, though. We'll go up against Goldbridge. And no. I'll come back to Goldbridge in a second. I do have a story about an Olympian I knew, but it's definitely one for not on the record.
Okay.
I shall tell you sometime.
Great. Can we just stop now? I want to hear the stories.
Yeah. Back to Goldbridge. Swedish Rumble posted on Twitter this morning Times bestseller list, and Goldbridge was at number 2 with 1,365 sales in the past week. And I was like, who?
Yeah.
Like, who and why did someone part with 22 of their English pounds?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, he's got a big audience.
It's a question.
Very successful in building an audience, but I just wonder, like, who and why.
Okay. So you're speaking to someone who's got experience of the field. And I've been on the Irish Times bestseller list, but never on the Sunday Times bestseller list, which is an achievement. I've worked for a decade building connections and building trust with people within the Manchester United community. Very proud of what I've accomplished with that. I had a feeling, because I saw that you tweeted about this, and I thought, Ed's going to try and needle me about books with this. So I'm thinking about the best way to diplomatically answer it, because I don't want someone thinking, oh, Wayne's envious or whatever. I'm envious of the fact that anyone gets on the Sunday Times bestseller list. However, would I sacrifice my credibility and the reputation that I've got? People have sent me samples of it, not anything meaty enough to write about. It's, you know, he's writing as a character. I don't know how much of it is lived experience, but he's writing as a character with a lot of catchphrases and everything. And it looks very much like the personality that he's built. And the thing is, you can't get away. And this isn't whether or not it's good or bad. You cannot get away from the platform and the audience. The audience is what shifts the books.
Yeah.
I know that because, for example, all of my better selling books are the ones that come with the publisher that's got a greater marketing reach. It's literally simple economics from that perspective. So the fact that he's got 1 million subscribers and 1 million followers means that it doesn't matter whether or not the book's got any literary merit. And I'm saying that as someone who hasn't read it. It will sell. That's the point. Those annuals that sell at Christmas, like, you know, all sorts of books sell for all kinds of reasons. I'm envious of anyone who, like I say, gets on that list, but whether or not it's got any credit or credibility, I don't know. It's interesting to see.
No, I know. I didn't mean to make you squirm.
I'm not squirming. I'm trying to be diplomatic with him because
I'm wondering whether you've ever sold 1,365 books in a week, but no need to answer that yet. My dad published his first novel. He's done a bunch of academic books, and it's about post-World War II generational pain, and it's one of those sort of, I wouldn't exactly call it a literary novel because it is pretty accessible compared to his academic books, which are absolutely not. He doesn't listen to this podcast, I don't think, so I can get away with saying anything. But yeah, I do wonder, like, if you don't have a mega publisher behind you, like, what the reach really is.
Well,
if you don't have big social media following and don't have a big publisher, then it must be hard.
Well, yeah, no, it's those numbers. I mean, I have done that. I've reached that figure. It is usually release week. You know, you get that. I can't. I think Jimmy Murphy. I can't remember off the top of my head. Jimmy Murphy definitely had a reprint before, like another publishing run before it came out. You know, he'd ordered that. People had pre-ordered that many, and I'm going to say I think Eternal did as well. The Duncan Edwards book. I think George Best got a reprint just after it come out as well. So yeah, I mean those numbers, they're good to, and it also depends about the time of year that you come out. I mean that number is fairly achievable in a quiet August week. But like if you're going to release in October, November, December, you'll see if you look at the Irish or Sunday Times bestsellers, the numbers to get into that list are exponentially higher because of the fact that so many books are being released around that time.
Right.
Yeah, it's like you know the figures from yourself. Looking at podcasting, like it's like the top 5%. You know, it's like a low number to get into the top 95%, but then that top 5%, obviously, the number increases wildly in there. Yeah,
It's hard to build an audience. I mean, episode 745 we've done of this, and definitely capped at a ceiling. The top episode ever is still the Moyes exit episode. So you know,
the stars aligned.
This is about
the stars aligned.
United fans. Yeah, I know. All right, we've got some football to talk about, and United's final friendly of the year since we lost. It'd be the first competitive game of the season if we'd won.
Yeah,
naturally. Yeah, I do wonder about this because in Spain, in Germany, in Italy, it's actually taken quite seriously. The Super Cup, as it's tend to be called, the UEFA Super Cup, sort of. I mean, some countries it's taken very seriously. Perhaps not in England. It's a historic thing that the Super Cup here is not taken. It's not a real trophy unless you're Jose Mourinho.
Yeah,
Jose Mourinho.
Yeah.
So anyway, the actual football. I mean, this was not bad from United. It was the same template as in the cup final. Basically, same system, wasn't it? Contain and break. Look for those sort of longer diagonal passes to move quickly out of defence.
Yeah.
Sit in a fairly low block out of possession. Reduce the number of chances and comfort that City had to play their game. And it worked for the most part.
Yeah. No, yeah. Historically, like you said, you're right on the Charity Shield and Community Shield. I will go back to give you like a proper historical context on that. When United were chasing the treble in 56-57, or 57-58, just before Munich, because we won the Charity Shield. And it was regarded as still a fairly major event, but David Gaskell made his debut in that, and he was a kid, and there was a lot of controversy over whether or not it counted as officially breaking Jeff Whitefoot's record as the youngest player. So whether or not it counts as a properly competitive game even then, and when they were talking about United winning the treble, they were talking about, there was the first mention I'd ever seen of the treble, and it meant Premier League, FA Cup, and the newly established European Cup at the time. Premier League, First Division. Anyway, so that's how long ago we're talking that it's not being classed as a major trophy. Even though I think probably going back when we first won it in like 1910, that it was classed as a major, fairly major thing, because there were fewer trophies to win. I thought it was as good as we could expect. They were missing players. We were missing players. We had a really shift the shape and how it looked in terms of the defence. John Martinez playing at left back for a long period.
Yeah.
And it didn't look completely comfortable in there. He made a couple of errors that you were going to see from someone. I feel like that's the kind of game where you want to try things like that anyway. Like, you don't, from the number of signings that we're bringing in, let's say all of them are fit. If a miracle happens like that, then it may well be that you might want to play Martinez at left back at some point. If you want to play your own Ligt in if he signs in there. So I don't mind all that sort of stuff, the trial of the I think we saw so many positives from the game that I feel so much more positive from watching the game than what I was doing going into the season, because I look at players like Ahmad, who his liberation, the way that he can just play with that freedom. And all right, people are like now like having this argument on whether or not he should be Garnacho on the left and Ahmad on the right. And I feel like I'm not still 100% sure that Ahmad's a guaranteed starter for United anyway. But that's really good competition if they're forcing each other on that side. So
we're going to have 60 games this season.
Exactly. Like, and you're going to need to rotate there. And all right, the other side is open for question whether or not Rashford's going to improve. And I thought generally his play was all right. He tried a couple of those balls that he did in the cup final, which I felt was like kind of like show pony kind of thing, just so like, I can do this, I can do it. And nice, he did, but like his general form, like trying to run beyond the fullback and everything, it was a bit left a little bit to be desired with that. But generally, I thought Casemiro wasn't that bad. I thought Mainu looked very good, as we know that he can be. I thought Collier was very composed. We've seen him we've talked about him and praised him in the pre-season already, but I felt to come on and play like he did yesterday. I know we're talking about bringing in another midfielder, and I'm not against that. I think it should happen. We need it. But I feel like he's played himself into deserving a chance in the first weeks of the season for sure.
Well, as Erik seems to be like very keen to point out, he has a kind of bar for getting into the team, doesn't he? And,
yeah.
One of the big question marks, I guess, over yesterday, especially when Pelistri came on and played right back to reasonably disastrous effect, was why wasn't Harry Amas in the squad, given that he'd been so good in pre-season, and Erik has sort of talked about you have to reach a level, and specifically with Harry Amas said he thought it was 3 months away. So, it's hard to see it on the pitch sometimes, exactly what Erik's seeing in training. That is that bar. But talking about Ahmad, he sat on the bench for 18 games in a row when he came back from injury last season. And I think everyone was wondering, with Anthony being absolutely dreadful, why wasn't he getting that chance? And clearly there's something. And apparently they've been working on his out of possession game a significant amount. So, and that was it. And there'll be something about Harry Amas that I haven't spotted yet that says, because I thought his defending and attacking and possession play was excellent for a 17-year-old. There'll be something that he's like, hey, there's a bar, and it has been with Ahmad. And Toby Collier's right on the edge. I mean, I'm not sure myself whether his all-round game's quite good enough. His passing game definitely isn't, but like maybe that's just about confidence and knowing your place. And he came in and did the defensive piece excellently.
Well, I think
when he came up,
those things that I think will improve as he gets more comfortable. But Ahmad, I just want to return to that point because it's such a good point about Garnacho was also kept on the bench for a long time as well. Mainu, the situation changed with him because he had the injury, but he was back in and he wasn't. I can't really remember now. I don't think. Maybe he played on the bench for a couple of games, and I know he was a starter, and he sort of made himself undroppable from that part. But he wasn't like he was just thrown in at the deep end and had to swim. I think he's been very responsible with how he's led those kids in. But you said there 18 matches in a row that he was on the bench, Ahmad, and I feel like we are seeing the benefit of that because now, like we're saying, you're not always entirely sure what Ten Hag was looking for. Where I think Ahmad before did look like he was a bit lost, even towards the end of certain games last season where he made an impact, like the Liverpool game where he scored. I still felt like he was lost in that game. You didn't really see a lot of him until he scored. However, against City yesterday, he looked really dangerous, like one of the most dangerous players on the pitch. Like they were terrified of him, and he was so full of confidence to be able to run like that as he did on a couple of occasions. Yeah, all right, the decision-making once or twice wasn't great, but his ability to run and penetrate is the greatest thing a footballer can do on the pitch, apart from his awareness around him, is penetrate a defence. And it's the thing that you want to see. I think the thing that we saw with United yesterday is that we've got a few of those players, like Garnacho, obviously. And what we saw is United have strength in that. We scored from that. And City have their strength from the cutback and cross, which they scored from as well. There were so many good things yesterday. And it was the same cup final approach, like I said, especially in the second half when McTominay came on, that sort of blunt force forward too. But the thing that I think most impressed me is that Ten Hag now has like a fairly established game plan for that, and it's effective. City aren't like a year ago they won the treble, and you thought they can win the treble every year, and really theoretically they could because they've got the strength for that, but they're not scary. And I think Ten Hag's tactics have played a part in that because now they look beatable, and they also look very ordinary. You see them players saying, yes, all right, with the caveat that they're missing some players, but not enough that would make me think, if all those players were back, they'd be a very scary force. I look at them and think, they're not a great Guardiola side, really. The side a couple of years ago, it's regressed a little bit, as we've seen. And I feel like tactically, I'm definitely not saying that United are in the hunt for being a better side than them, or that they'll be challenging for the title, because I can recognise that our way of approaching them is a pragmatic one rather than an enforcing one. But I feel like through the managers and the players, we can now see the progression that says, all right, with a quota of players that are available, we've got every reason to be positive with that. And the game plan was great. I mean, we soaked up 25 minutes of pressure, just like we did in the cup final. I felt like we created probably the better chances. We had more efforts on target, I think, as well. I still don't know what the Bruno goal was disallowed for. I suppose you'll tell me about that. Offside. So Bruno was off. Yeah, he did. I wasn't sure because I couldn't really tell from where I was sitting on the line of that. Okay. I also wasn't sure if it was a kid that run onto the pitch, and because there was a kid who ran onto the pitch at the same time to hug Rashford. Right. It was all a bit weird that minute. But all in all, I know, yeah, all right, you could argue the Palestri thing is a tactical failure, but I feel like that was just like at the end of the game, you are giving players minutes, and we had to shuffle the defence, and we didn't have a right back because Wan-Bissaka's on his way to West Ham, so we had to try something there, and it didn't work, which is all right if it's this kind of game. But the rest of it, like I said at the start, I just feel really positive. I felt like we played positive as much as you can when you are playing a pragmatic game against someone who is a stronger opponent.
Sure. Look, United create good chances with the game plan.
Yeah.
Right? There are more than one way to skin a cat. Against City, that's 2 times in a row now that we've made them feel uncomfortable in possession and out of possession. And what's the discomfort when they're in possession? It's United's low block. It's very hard to score the City archetypal goal. They did right at the end when everything had moved around. But also that it's just very hard to press and counter press, especially in Manu in midfield. Yeah. He's so press resistant and got such good control of the ball. Normally Casemiro doesn't. And he hasn't got the legs either to do the defensive job or to retain possession. And he had a pretty good game. I'm not going to say he's suddenly reborn. I mean, he's had a summer off, which probably helps. Honestly, I don't think he could do that for a whole season. Very specific one-off there, I think. But then United were dangerous. I mean, aside from like some of it's very interesting. Some of the sort of people are critical of Rashford for absolutely everything, right? The narrative seems to shift. So last season, it was all about how lazy he was, apparently, even though I think it was pretty well explained exactly what Rashford was asked to do, which was stay very high. Yesterday, he did the running, the defensive work and the pressing really well. And the thing he didn't do, and he created space and chances. The running with the ball doesn't always work, but that is the nature of taking players on. And he didn't finish the chances. 2 chances he had, excellent ones. One where he opened himself up and curled it wide of the post. And the one where he sort of caught the top of his boot and hit the post. Those are 2 presentable chances. Yeah. And one would hope that a player of his quality could finish them. And that has obviously created something of a social media backlash. I don't know. I saw enough in pre-season to say, I don't know he's back for certain, but he definitely looked better in pre-season than he did the whole of the previous year. So there are signs there with him. Garnacho obviously made an impact straight away. Not surprised he didn't start. This was his first pre-season game. He was at the Copa America for a large part of the summer. And as you say, Ahmad, always dangerous. So his out possession game worked really well with how they defended, and in possession was fantastic. I mean, I'm just looking at it now. It wasn't that many shots on target, 8 shots in total, 2 on target, 2 big chances they missed. Yeah. Right, and those are Rashford's chances, and that is the difference between winning and not.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that, because the narrative that I saw, which I did reply to, and I shouldn't really have because you amplify it, is that, oh, well, we didn't lose because of Johnny Evans, we lost because of Rashford. No. It's the difference between winning and not winning. It's not the difference between winning and losing. So saying that it's like we lost because of Rashford is ridiculous. We lost on a bad penalty. It's not, and that can happen. I'm not getting on Evans' back or Sancho's back even for that. Even if you want to criticise penalty technique, I'm just not going to do it because penalties it's a lottery anyway. But you're not going to be critical of.
Well, it's not a lottery, but
no, I mean,
still.
like in terms of like it's not a game plan in the natural sense of how you.
No. It is a skill, but it's a skill in which top professional footballers still only score 80% of the time on average. Right.
So while I'm not going to be critical of Rashford either for missing the chances, I did say earlier that I felt like his all-round game perhaps wasn't so great. I mean, there was definitely in the first half, there was one moment of horrendous miscontrol, which was really poor. But when he's executing the coaching elements, like you said, where he's in position, and you're not saying, Rashford, what are you doing? Which I think is, I'm just saying Rashford, I'm saying any player. If you're saying in your head or like you're vocalising it in the stands, and you're going, what are you doing? Because you're noticing that player isn't, you can tell that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing because there's players who are free and it's causing us problems where Rashford has been guilty of that before. He wasn't guilty of that yesterday. So can you criticise a player for being out of form? Not really, because it's not like they're not trying. He wasn't not trying to score. And you can say, all right, well, he's not a clinical finisher. I mean, obviously, we would have all liked him to have scored those chances. It wasn't the reason, might be the reason why we didn't win the game, obviously, because they're two massive chances. And one would have definitely, would have made it. Both the Rashfords came, both of the chances came when it was 0-0, right? He didn't score. He wasn't. Yeah, they were. Yeah. Before Garnacho's chance. So they wouldn't have even sealed the game. So that kind of, like sliding doors effect wouldn't have mattered. Garnacho scored anyway, and it was Palestri's not a right back, and if Bernardo Silva's scoring a header at the far post, then all kind of things are problems for that. So none of that's blame on Rashford, and I just feel like all this is social media nonsense, which is you look for a scapegoat.
It is, but it's people with supposedly serious social media presence. It's not just the blue ticks nonsense engagement farming that happens. Sorry, I know you have a blue tick, but you know the kind of content I mean, not your excellent content, Wayne. There are some serious people who are seriously suggesting some random 18-year-old playing in France would immediately be slotted in and be guaranteed to be better, right? Like it's a game of Football Manager, and it's not. And we know Rashford's ceiling is really high. He's gone up and down throughout his career. It's a pity that he has never been able to find that consistency. There are reasons for it. I mean, he had a shoulder and a foot injury for a long time. That definitely played across 2 seasons, where he still scored plenty of goals, by the way, in those 2 seasons. Last season's the biggest concern, isn't it? Because he just looked so out of it all year, and we haven't got a clear reason why he lost what seems to be his focus and professionalism. If you think about the Belfast incident where he went to a nightclub 2 nights in a row and then lied to the club about it. Pretty serious stuff, really. Yeah. And so that is a big concern. But the idea that you can look down a chart of stats and go, oh, yeah, no problem, this 17-year-old playing at Rennes or wherever, I'm making something up now, would suddenly fix it all. Or you can magically money tree a bunch of cash and not have the last 20 years of mismanagement be at play. You know, I think that kind of stuff is total nonsense. Yeah. And we should be realistic. Even if United were to find another Garnacho or another Ahmad, neither of those have actually scored that many goals in a season. And I think they're both potentially excellent, especially Garnacho. His ceiling could be really high. Still hasn't scored that many goals in the season. Yeah. So now, and we don't know that he can go up another level and go from a 10-goal-a-season player to a 20-goal-a-season player. No. Let alone a 30, which is what Rashford achieved 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, but Rashford was doing that, playing through the middle, which he apparently detests. What I will say about the current Rashford situation, as opposed to 2 years ago or even 1 year ago when we had a dearth of forward options, we don't now. Once they're all available, not now because Højlund's injured and Xerxes needs time.
Yeah.
But
sure. In the squad, there's 8 options.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where we were reliant and we needed Rashford in there and he needed to be scoring, and United needed Marcus Rashford, and that meant that even when he wasn't really playing well but scoring goals, because I think that's what you can say for the last time the season before last when he was scoring a lot of goals, he still wasn't really playing great, not after the World Cup. There were a couple of good goals in there, but apart from that, his general form wasn't so great, and it was kind of like, all right, what are we going to see from him without the goals? What does he bring to the side? United aren't so reliant on him now. It's more Rashford's obligation to step up this time round, I feel, because, yeah, all right, there isn't a guarantee of Garnacho, but he will progress and he will kick on, and you don't know how high that ceiling is. The thing is, what you can say is, the good thing is, we don't know how his ceiling is. We know that he could kick up. He could well become a 25-goal season striker.
Yeah.
Forward, sorry, not striker. And all those options, we don't know how dynamic it's going to change in the forward line. If Højlund's going to step up, if we can, I don't think we can. But if there's a place where Garnacho and Ahmad and Højlund or Xerxes are in that side, if you've got both of Ahmad,
well, it's definitely going to happen in some games.
Yeah. So if those options can come off, then, like I said, the obligation, the onus is on Rashford to step up, and there's no. Whereas, like 18 months ago, that we had such a dependency on him that when he wasn't playing well, it was so critical to how we were doing. Now it's not. He's got the onus on stepping up, and that can only be healthy as a football club. Whether or not he can do it, I feel like this is part of the product of us moving on as a football club. It's inconsequential. I don't want to sound like, because I want Rashford. I love him, by the way. I think he's great. I think when he's playing well and when he's full of confidence, considering everything he stands for and everything within the club and within the country, that's only a good thing for Manchester United and for Marcus Rashford. However, it's only a good thing for Manchester United if they're improving all the time, and it doesn't matter who your favourite player is or how much you're attached to them. If that player is lost in the shuffle because we're progressing and moving forward, it's on that player to step up. And if they don't, then and this is what I mean for Rashford in particular, a season, by the way, where he's 26, 27, by far the most senior of the forward options now. He should be the leader in that front pack, but he doesn't appear to be, right? I don't feel he doesn't have the presence to be. He can be this season. I feel like maybe 18 months ago you would have said that without question, but I feel like the form now, where Garnacho's come in and done so well and where Ahmad's doing so well, you say, well, maybe they're emerging. Well, Garnacho's certainly emerging as a leader. Now, it is on Rashford. Like I said, the onus is on him to step up and do it. He can do it. He can do it. He's got the talent to do it. Whether or not he will, obviously, I feel like that part. I feel because things are going so well. I'm sorry, I'm labouring to the point, but I feel because things are looking so good and rosy in these kind of areas, assuming everyone's fit and that we move forward as we hope that we will, it's only a good thing either way. And I say that, I know it sounds callous, but that's part of being a football fan, is that if your favourite player's there or not, it shouldn't really matter as long as the team are winning. And I feel that's where we are with Marcus, as much as he is loved by everyone. I mean, I'm sure there are players like Whiteside and McGrath in the 90s, in the 80s, where you say they would have been everyone's fan favourites, but it didn't matter how good they were. But at some point, we had to move on. And yeah, that's probably where I am with that.
Yeah. Well, big season ahead.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be sold this summer. I'd be surprised. Although it would obviously have a major FFP benefit if anyone found the money for the fee and his wages. So there are, of those forwards we talked about, obviously Højlund to come. We'll see if United play in a way that suits him, because they definitely didn't play in a way that suits Højlund last season. He needs the ball in front of him. He's a player. He likes space. He'll run into the channel. Xerxes is very different.
Yeah.
He's a technical player, ball to feet, calls himself a 9.5. I think that's about right. He likes to play deep. He could play in that system United played yesterday, for example, as one of the two up front, interchanging. It wouldn't look that different from Bruno, to be honest. Obviously United are not going to play that way very often. You can't play that way against a side that drops into a mid or a low block and expect to create any chances. You just won't. So if United try that again on Friday, uncomfortable performance and result coming up, I would suggest. Anyway, look, he's found a way to make it difficult against City, much as Ollie did. Yeah. Ollie had a great record against City. And a simpler game in many ways, but not that different, like philosophically. Stay deep, stay compact, defend well, break quickly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
United found a way of doing that against City 2 games in a row. And but for Jadon not tricking the keeper, so it wouldn't have been that bad if the keeper had gone the other way. Obviously, it wasn't in the corner, clearly. And poor old Johnny skying one.
Yeah.
Stepped up as penalty taker number 7.
Yeah.
Was it? Deary me, Johnny.
Yeah, one of those things. You're not going to... I mean, he was so good in the game, by the way. He was so good. Oh, yeah. And look, it's ridiculous, really, that a 37-year-old we picked up off a relegated club has been this good for us again in the second spell. Shouldn't there's no right. Or played this many games. And he's a very classy player and person. Yeah. Just launched one in space yesterday at Wembley. Unfortunate. All right, I think that's the game, unless you have any other thoughts. And we've got some transfer news to talk about, which is interesting. Yeah,
isn't it?
I mean, we've got some transfer news. That's good. Yeah, we'll move on. I've got nothing more on the game.
All right. Well, widely reported that United have agreed a fee with Bayern Munich for Matthijs, Ligt and Mazraoui, the right back. I mean, it looks like a reasonable deal, actually, if you think about the quality of the 2 players. There's definitely question marks, particularly around both of their injury records, which we could be regretting if they missed 30 games each this season.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can't even go, yeah, that's all right, because we've got other players, because as we saw last season, if 2 of them are out at the same time, you're absolutely fucked.
Yeah.
So anyway, looks like it's about 70 million euros, including the add-ons. So, calculate United are paying up front just over 40 million for Matthijs de Ligt, pounds, that is, plus add-ons, and 15 or so, or less than 15, 12 plus add-ons for Mazraoui. And that reflects the fact that he's got a very poor injury record, even though he's a very interesting modern fullback. So, what are your thoughts on both of them and where they may fit into the overall plan?
Mazraoui, I don't feel he's as good a defender as Wan-Bissaka. It's a curious one for me in terms of you are allowing a player who's a better tackler out. But the point is that Wan-Bissaka is relative discomfort on the ball, even though I feel like he's improved. He's obviously jarring for the manager. It means that he's prohibitive to playing the style that we want to play. I don't feel Dalot's anywhere near as good a fullback as Wan-Bissaka. But I'm just a fan. I'm not a manager with a specific system in place. I feel, obviously, Wan-Bissaka's been not pushed out, but being made to feel like you're not very welcome, even though there's certain games and situations in which he excels, which we could well end up regretting, because I feel like for the sake of £12 million, right? So that's what we're talking, to get one in and one out. Are we going to end up regretting that? Now, Mazraoui, I feel like it's just like an interchangeable thing, because there are things suspect defensively about him that you might say about Dalot. And is he the best fullback in the world going forward? Nobody can do what Ten Hag wants him to do. So these 2 fullbacks, presuming Shaw will be the other one, and then Amas is there as the hopeful backup option if Noussair continues to be missing. That's not a terrible scenario to be in. If obviously he's familiar with him as well, so there's that he can definitely do the thing. You know what I mean? He's familiar enough to know that he can definitely do the things that he wants him to do. The issue will come, as it did with Noussair, as it has definitely shown with Anthony. Will that translate from Ajax to Manchester United in the Premier League, which is a different question altogether? Sure.
But Mazraoui has been at Bayern for a long time, and I think it'd be interesting to see who they play at fullback now, because Joshua Kimmich said yesterday he's definitely playing in midfield in the season to come. So they've let a fullback go anyway. Maybe they have another one lined up. Yeah, for sure, defensively, it's kind of interesting with Mazraoui. He's a very attacking fullback. He gets 14, perhaps not as mental as Denzel Dumfries, who was the other potential option. who just is not a fullback. He just happens to be playing there sometimes. I think he's a pretty balanced player, Mazraoui. Obviously over-indexes on the attacking stuff. And I guess this is part of Ten Hag's plan now to have 2 attacking fullbacks in there. Dalot has turned out to be a sort of all-rounder, not particularly good at the attacking stuff. He's all right. He's comfortable enough. He inverts in the sort of modern way, makes the extra man in midfield, but his numbers in terms of actual creating chances and assists are still quite low. Mazraoui should be higher. I don't know who'll be number 1 in this scenario. Of course, we've seen for Morocco, he's played a lot because of Hashram Hakimi. He's played a lot left back as well. That's comfortable there, even though he's right-footed. So that is a bonus, I guess. If we just assume that Luke Shaw may miss quite a few games because he just always does.
Yeah. Well, is that Ligt? Like you said, the age-old quandary is always going to be whether or not Bayern Munich are allowing good players to leave willingly without having a dodgy medical record. I think we talked about it before that it's not that alarming in perspective if you look at it over a longer period. On ability, I know some people questioning that. Scholes came out and he said something like, "Oh, well, if Juve and Bayern are allowing him to leave or something." I don't read anything. Yeah, I don't read anything to that.
Yeah, Scholes, fantastic player. He's just a crap pundit that doesn't watch any football.
I feel like on talent, he's such a good replacement for Varane. Obviously, not completely like Varane. That was a bit of a Rolls Royce. I don't know if I'd put De Ligt in that category just yet, but he's emerging. He's still emerging and still learning the game. He's still a young centre-back. Alongside Martinez, there's every reason to believe that they've got the abilities and attributes that complement each other. And I've got such a good feeling about that if they both fit, because if they both fit, we're talking about probably as strong as any centre-back pairing in the league. You've got to be excited by that. It's just a question mark over whether Bayern letting him go. He's always there. He's always there.
I presume a medical would be done to make sure that he isn't absolutely crocked. I mean, if you look at his injury record, he loses about the normal number of games for a player until the last 2 seasons. And that has not been awesome. So it looks like something like 62 games. I think I counted them, 62 games missed since he came into the Ajax team. And last season was 2 knee injuries, which is a little worrying, I'd say. Let's hope, in terms of quality, I think he's a very good all-round defender. I mean, he's a good box defender. He's comfortable in possession without being absolutely brilliant. His pace is okay. He's not slow. He's perhaps not the quickest on the turn, but if he's the front foot defender and Martinez is clearing up, then I think that's probably okay as a pairing. There's good competition with Lenny Yoro when he's fit. Sounds like he's not going to make it back until the end of the year, which is a big shame for him. Yoro, that is. But De Ligt, I think he should slot in okay. I have no problem with him coming from Eredivisie to Serie A to Bundesliga to England. I think the transition will be fine. A better one than going straight from the Eredivisie to England.
I think helpful, really, to have that experience.
Yeah. I don't see this as a kind of general decline in his performances. No. I mean, I'm not sure Juve would have sold, but for financial reasons. Bayern's an interesting one. I guess they had just such a disastrous season last season that they've decided to make a lot of changes. Yeah. They haven't secured the deal for Jonathan Tah, but perhaps they got other things in mind. Upamecano's staying. Looks like Kim Min-jae is staying. And inexplicably, Erik Dyer is the first name on the team sheet at Bayern. So just very odd. I think De Ligt will be fine for United. I'm not sure he'd be my absolute number 1, but if that's going to be Yoro, if we think his ceiling is even higher, then fine. It's like, I think De Ligt will do just fine. And the price is not bad, honestly. Overall, yeah, they've held out for not paying stupid money, I think.
No, yeah, definitely.
There's still one missing in terms of transfers in midfield. Still haven't. Unbelievably so, still have not brought in a midfielder.
Yeah, but we have got a lot of numbers in there as well. Manu emerged, and his emergence is really the big key factor, really, because I know you've got Mount and you've got Fernandes and then Casemiro and Eriksen in there, probably missing someone else, McTominay. So there are a lot of numbers in there before deciding on what are the qualities, and obviously Collier as well. It was done well in pre-season. Yeah. So there are a lot of numbers in there before you even start looking at the qualities that you need for that third person who you're saying that was going to be there. And everyone's saying, Ogata, some of the things like we've talked about it, some of the qualities he's got are not obvious in terms of being complementary to the other players, at least on face value. But you never know how players are going to work in dynamism with each other. We're definitely missing a body in terms of we can say we've got numbers, but whether or not we've got the quality is a different matter. And again, with the object being progression and wanting to impose our style on other teams.
I think it's numbers, but not enough quality in central midfield, especially in that number 6 position. By the way, this makes up 11 players that Ten Hag has signed that have played in Holland.
How many for him?
Yeah. A fair few. All right. So let's make a team out of them. Obviously, Onana in goal, played for him. Mazraoui right back, played for him. Ligt has played for him. Martinez had played for him. Noussair hadn't played for him, but played in Holland. In midfield, you've got Eriksen, had not previously played for him. I know he was at Ajax, but hadn't played for him. Mount. This is the crowbarring this one in because he's not actually, he was on loan at Vitesse Arnhem, but that's where Ten Hag first saw him and apparently fell in love with him. Hadn't previously played for him. Amrabat had previously played for him, so that's the midfield. And up front, it's Anthony had previously played for him and Weghorst had not previously played for him.
So,
but there you go.
5 or 6 out of those.
Yeah.
But I'm not...
and Xerxes, sorry, I missed him, who had not previously played for him, but obviously came through a Dutch system.
I would, I think that's like all managers do that. I'm not necessarily that bothered by that. My only problem is investing so much in, like I said about the staff earlier in the pre-season, you invest so much in something that could still go wrong. And if you've done that, it's such a massive investment into that progression that that's what...
It is a little odd. The Dutchness of it all is a little odd. We've got to admit this, Jim Ratcliffe gave his views to the BBC today in which he said, I haven't seen the full thing yet, but saw some of the quotes in which he said that Erik's a good guy, but he was just doing too much. He was trying to coach the team and fix the roof.
Not literally.
He didn't bloody fix the roof, did he?
I was going to say, I don't think so.
Yeah. No, definitely not. I mean, I think that is Sir Jim's fairly dry sense of humour coming out there. Yeah, but it is a little odd. 11 players that had played in Holland, and it's Ruud van Nistelrooy, the goalkeeper coach's name, who I still haven't managed to remember, and René Harke. I don't think the set piece coach has coached in. He's Swedish, and I don't think he's coached in Holland. Although I will go look up his full history after this to see if I'm wrong. Yeah.
So, it's a lot.
It's an odd quirk.
There are some numbers there that could be concerning if he doesn't start very well. That's what I said before, right? But I can see why. I can see why it's all going in that direction, and I think that he's earned it. I know that we've had this back and forth between us and by listeners and things like that of like whether or not he's the right man, but I do feel like he's earned it, and I feel like what we saw yesterday, even in defeat, I feel like that's vindication, step-by-step vindication. You see it and you say, all right, it feels like we're moving in the right direction, because the more players we've got available, the more that we play a style that if you have to be pragmatic, that's just the evolution of the game now. You can't always impose your style on every single team that you play against. You would hope that Manchester United can do it in 90% of games, and hopefully we'll start to see that. So I do feel like the value of the 2 years that we've given him is starting to bear some kind of fruit, and not just in the trophies. That it just like in that togetherness. That
I'm not there yet.
No,
but on assuming that, I mean, because I think there's a halo effect from playing well against City 2 times in a row, which are one-off systems.
Well,
what we haven't seen and didn't see in pre-season was an obvious way of playing going forward when we're not. And defending, to be honest, we defended the same way. I actually did think the attacking play was a bit sharper in pre-season. The defensive side of it looked exactly the same to me.
Yeah, but then we have had, again, we had a lot of injuries and missing players over there. So
the pattern, though, the strategy, which is press high when it doesn't work, drop deep, and which means you cover a lot of space very quickly, which United don't seem to be able to do. But
I said, sorry to interrupt, but like I said, it did come with a caveat of could all go very, very wrong within 3 months. But I'm saying that, you're saying that this is all right on the back of 2 performances against City, but they are nonetheless still 2 performances against Manchester City. That's the barometer that we've got to evaluate the evidence, right? So I'm not getting carried away. I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying we're definitely moving in the right direction. I look at that and say, with everything moving in the way that it should do, with a fair wind and not as many injuries, then we should comfortably get in the top 4 with that. And that's progression from where we were, maybe not progression from what we'd like to see from where we started. Do I have 100% confidence in it? No, definitely not based just on these performances. However, I feel much more optimistic based on them. That's all I can offer from that perspective of the game-by-game thing.
I definitely agree. I've got nothing negative to say really about the performances against City. I think it's horses for courses and it was the right horse. My question really is whether we have the right horse for different types of games and when anything substantively different will come. Touch every piece of wood that we get far fewer injuries and we get a midfielder in, because I think that will be a big difference.
What about Frankie de Jong?
Oh, dear.
Erik knows him. Erik knows him.
I think I'd rather have Wesley Sneijder, right? Yeah, I'd be very surprised if that one happens, even if Barcelona... But Barcelona is still a basket case. I mean, it looks like they're signing Dani Olmo for 60 million euros, which they can barely afford and definitely don't need because they've got about 5 other players who can play that position. But Frankie de Jong's an interesting one because obviously he's the kind of player that Erik ten Hag wants. Although Kobbie Mainoo has kind of fulfilled a lot of that role. Maybe not the first phase progression, but the second phase for sure. So I just don't know whether that makes quite as much sense as having a real destroyer in there. Plus, he's earning like £500,000 a week. Yeah, and still owed like 20 million by Barcelona or something. So, yeah, and I know you had your tongue in your cheek by asking that, but yeah, I don't see that one happening. I think that's it. What else? We've covered everything for the week. Yeah, Anthony gave an interview in which he said you'll definitely see Anthony's name alongside goals and assists this season. Every man and his dog was quick to point out that no goals and assists would also be included in that phrase. But
well, I am looking forward to the season starting again on Friday night under the lights, because what better time to start a season? I am buzzing because I felt like I had a little bit of football fatigue. I wasn't that invested in the Euros, but maybe I wasn't. I think the Community Shield came around a bit quick for me. I wasn't really fully in the moment. But then I was there and I was like, "Oh, United are back. That's good." And so, a lot of people that obviously see usually a match days, sometimes not all the time, because Wembley brings a different crowd. So it was nice to see different people, and just that energy of oh, I'm going to see people again on Friday night. It's got me feeling more optimistic about it. I think it's been a topsy-turvy summer with United. Now it feels like it's falling into place with the signings, but it's not. I know, and it started quite well, so it's we look like we meant business, and then it's gone a bit flat and quiet. Now I just feel oh yeah, all right, the momentum's starting. A decent performance to think about from the Wembley game. So everything now starts to feel more positive about that. So I am looking forward to it, apart from the fact I think I would have preferred it to be Saturday 3:00 or Saturday lunchtime or something. But Friday 8 PM it is against Fulham. And last time we played Fulham on the opening day, we won. I think I'm right on this. We won 5-1, and then we went on to win the title. All right.
If we win 5-1 on Friday night, we're definitely on for the title. Well, we will be top of the league.
Exactly.
Great. All right. We'll leave it there. A quick reminder before we go, if you could rate and review on Apple Podcasts, that's awesome. Helps us increase the audience and other people find it. And if you don't already watch, we're over on YouTube, NQAT Pod. Just search in the search bar. All right. Catch you next time, everyone. Bye now.